So that upcoming week, I got paid for a calling card to call long distance, and we had a rotary phone, so I couldn't call from the house phone. So I had to go down to the local shopping center with Murphy's Five and Dime, and I'm standing at the payphone next to the cashier, and I called Dino De Laurentiis' studios, and I get Steve here, and I go, Mr. King? He goes, yeah. I go, I actually wanted to talk to your secretary.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
When there's no more room in hell.
But you mentioned Graveyard Shift. What was the story with that? I had a buddy of mine, John Grande, does a YouTube channel, Grande's Graveyard. Check it out, everybody. He's a great guy. Brought that up. I had no idea that you were involved originally with Graveyard Shift. And tell me about that. What happened with that?
All right. So me and George and Christine, they were having, it was the theater that was right near the Monroeville Mall. Right there on the same property. And they were having like a mini George Romero festival. And so I'm standing out in the lobby talking to George and Christine. And I mentioned that I'm going down to North Carolina for the Great American Bash. And he's like, well, while you're down there, go down and say hi to Steve. I'm like, okay, Steve who? He's like, Steve King. He's down at Dino's Studios, making a movie. Well, okay. Just gonna, all right. So, and this took me like 30 some odd years to realize what George actually did at this point. Well, let me go a little further ahead with the story at that point. So that upcoming week, I got paid for a calling card to call long distance, and we had a rotary phone, so I couldn't call from the house phone. So I had to go down to the local shopping center with Murphy's Five and Dime, and I'm standing at the payphone next to the cashier, and I called Dino De Laurentiis' studios, and I get Steve here, and I go, Mr. King? He goes, yeah. I go, I actually wanted to talk to your secretary. And he goes, well, she's not here. What can I help you with? And I'm like, my name's George Demick. Oh, George. George said you would be coming down. Just call me when you get down here. I'll bring you in. Okay, so, but here's the thing. You go back to that conversation in the middle of a movie lobby on a Saturday afternoon. George can't pick up a cell phone, can't text, can't do any of that. Doesn't have a car phone. So he has to wait and remember this conversation, go back to his house, then pick up the phone, then call Steve King. And whether they were friends or not, he was using a favor to get me in. And, I like to think he thought that I was going to ask for something. That's what I like to think. And so whether he did or not, I don't know, but I like to think he did. So I get down there in North Carolina and call Steve and go in, and he's getting ready to prep Maximum Overdrive. There's this big mock-up table with the cars and the station and all that stuff. And he's wearing a Venus flyplant shirt with a giant rubber fly on the shoulder. And I get him to sign my copy of Dance Macabre, and I go, by the way, I would like to get the rights to for Graveyard Shift. And he goes, well, no one has them. You doing a student film? And I go, no, I want to make a feature film. And he's like, all right. He picks up the phone, and he calls Kirby McCauley, and he goes, tells him to give me the rights. I have faith in this guy. And that was it. I had Graveyard Shift, the rights to Graveyard Shift. Initially talked to Mike Gornick about possibly directing, and he's like, I would love to, but I don't have the name recognition. You should get Tom. So I went and talked to Tom, and Tom was like, yeah, man, I know this guy, this writer. And he hooked me up with John Esposito. And John Esposito and I have been friends for 40 years now. And we were off to the races. I got hooked up with a producer through, I I think, as I recall, it was Zilla Clinton hooked me up with her, and she, I don't even remember her name. All I remember is through connection of mine, I got in a meeting with Charlie Band. Charlie came in with like 104-degree temperature. He was sick as a dog, but he wanted Stephen King. And she literally insulted him in his own office. She wouldn't tell him about anything we wanted to do with the script. She wouldn't tell him anything. She kept telling me, well, we're going to Paramount. We're going to Universal. We're going here and there. Okay. Years later, I finally got to meet Charlie and apologize, because after that, he wouldn't take my calls. It's like, no, done. That bridge is burned into a cinder. So it got around, and we were finally, when I got out there, we were on Cat's Eye and Maximum Overdrive, and no studio wanted Stephen King to save their lives. So she wasn't doing anything to really promote it. She just was talking big. So I ended up firing her, and Greg Nictero and I partnered up. And we had a deal, or he got a deal with for us for New World Pictures. And we would have when we started production, I would have got like $100,000, and they went bankrupt. So, the script sent in my closet. Years later, the guy who got the rights again called me and paid me some money, and they made the movie. So I'm happy with the movie. The movie wouldn't have happened if I hadn't got started and pushed it all on. So,
yeah, I've always heard that story. I think it was on Document of the Dead where Tom's telling that story about he almost had Graveyard Shift, but he mentioned that they felt like they couldn't develop a story about rats or whatever it was, and he's like, then I look in the paper a couple of days later, and it's like New World Pictures presents slugs. He's like, what's the difference? So I never knew at all like the backstory of that. Okay, that makes total sense then.